I was a police officer for the county sheriff's office for 10 years. I saw a lot of things in my time on the force, but nothing could have prepared me for what I saw one night. It was a dark and stormy night. The rain was coming down in sheets and the wind was howling like a banshee. I was driving my patrol car through the county when I saw a strange light coming from the sheriff's office. I pulled over and got out of my car to investigate. The light was coming from the basement window. I crept up to the building and peered inside. What I saw made my blood run cold. There in the basement was a group of people. They were all dressed in black and they were chanting in a language I didn't understand. I was about to turn and run when I saw something that made me stop in my tracks. There, in the middle of the circle, was a body. It was a man, and he was dead. I didn't know what to do. I was outnumbered and outgunned, but I couldn't just leave him there. I drew my gun and charged into the basement. The people stopped chanting and turned to look at me. They had no expression on their faces, but I could feel the hatred radiating off of them. I fired my gun, but the bullets bounced off of them like they were made of rubber. I was about to be overrun when the man spoke. "Help me," he said. "They're going to kill me." I didn't know what to do. I was outnumbered and outgunned, but I couldn't just leave him there. I ran to the man and knelt down next to him. He was bleeding from a gunshot wound to the chest. "I'm going to get you out of here," I said. I picked up the man and carried him out of the basement. I ran as fast as I could, not daring to look back. I didn't stop running until I was sure we were safe. I took the man to the hospital, and he was treated for his injuries. The man told me that he was a deputy sheriff, and that he had been investigating a group of occultists who were operating out of the sheriff's office. He said that he had found out too much, and that they had tried to kill him. I didn't know what to believe, but I knew that something was wrong. I decided to do some investigating on my own. I went back to the sheriff's office and searched the basement. I found a lot of occult objects, including candles, robes, and books on black magic. I also found a journal that belonged to one of the occultists. The journal detailed their plans to sacrifice a human being to their dark god. I was horrified by what I had found. I knew that I had to do something. I went to the police chief and told him what I had found. The police chief didn't believe me. He said that I was just imagining things. He told me to forget about it and go back to work. I knew that I couldn't forget about it. I had to do something to stop them. I went to the media and told them what I had found. The media ran a story about it, and the public was outraged. The police chief was forced to investigate. He found the occult objects and the journal, and he knew that I was telling the truth. The occultists were arrested, and they were charged with a variety of crimes, including attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. They were all convicted and sentenced to prison. I was glad that they were caught, but I knew that this was just the tip of the iceberg. There are other occultists out there, and they are just as dangerous. I'm still a police officer, and I'm still investigating occult activity. I know that I can't stop them all, but I'm determined to do my part. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know that I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep fighting for the truth, no matter what the cost. After the occultists were arrested, I was hailed as a hero. The media called me the man who saved the county. I was interviewed on national television, and I was even offered a book deal, but I didn't want any of that. I just wanted to go back to my old life. I wanted to forget about what I had seen, and I wanted to move on. But it wasn't that easy. The things I had seen had changed me. I was no longer the same person I had been before. I was more cynical, and I was more distrustful of people. I was also more aware of the dark side of the world. I knew that there were evil people out there, and I knew that they were capable of terrible things. I also knew that I was one of the few people who knew about the occultists, and I knew that I had to do something to stop them. I started by talking to other police officers about what I had seen. I told them about the occult objects in the journal, and I told them about the plans to sacrifice a human being. At first, they didn't believe me. They thought I was crazy, But I kept talking to them, and eventually, they started to listen. We started an investigation, and we eventually found more evidence of occult activity. We found more occult objects, and we found more journals that detailed the plans of the occultists. We also found more victims. We found people who had been kidnapped and tortured by the occultists. We found people who had been sacrificed to their dark god. We were able to stop the occultists, but we knew that they would be back. We knew that there were other occultists out there, and we knew that they were just as dangerous. We decided to form a task force to investigate occult activity. We knew that it would be dangerous, but we were determined to stop them. We've been working for years now, and we've made a lot of progress. We've arrested dozens of occultists, and we've prevented dozens of sacrifices. But we know that we're not done. There are still other occultists out there, and they're still just as dangerous. We're going to keep fighting them, and we're going to keep stopping them. We're going to keep fighting for the truth no matter what the cost. It was a dark and stormy night. The rain was coming down in sheets and the wind was howling like a banshee. I was driving my patrol car through the city when I saw a strange light coming from an old house on the corner. I pulled over and got out of my car to investigate. The light was coming from the attic window. I crept up to the house and peered inside. What I saw made my blood run cold. There, in the middle of the attic, was a group of people. They were all dressed in white, and they were chanting in a language I didn't understand. I was about to turn and run when I saw something that made me stop in my tracks. There, in the middle of the circle, was a small child. She was no more than 5 years old, and she was naked. Her skin was pale as death, and her eyes were wide with fear. I knew I had to do something. I drew my gun and charged into the attic. The people stopped chanting and turned to look at me. They had no expression on their faces, but I could feel the hatred radiating off of them. I fired my gun, but the bullets bounced off of them like they were made of rubber. I was about to be overrun when the child spoke. "Help me," she said. "They're going to hurt me." I didn't know what to do. I was outnumbered and outgunned, but I couldn't just leave her there. I ran to the child and scooped her up in my arms. She clung to me tightly, her body shaking with fear. I turned and ran out of the attic, the people chasing after me. I burst out of the house and into the rain. I ran as fast as I could, not daring to look back. I didn't stop running until I was sure I was safe. I took the child to the police station, and we called her parents. The parents were overjoyed to see their daughter safe and sound. They thanked me profusely, and I told them I was just glad I could help. I never saw the people in the attic again, but I'll never forget what I saw that night. I know what I saw was real, and I know that there are things in this world that we don't understand. I'm not sure what those people were, or what they were doing with that child, but I know that they were evil, and I'm glad I was able to save the child from them. I've never spoken of this to anyone before, but I felt like I needed to share it with someone. I don't know if anyone will believe me, but I know what I saw. I'm a police officer, and I've seen a lot of things in my time on the force, but nothing could have prepared me for what I saw that night. The next day, I went back to the house to investigate further. The door was unlocked, so I went inside. The house was empty, but I could still feel the evil that had been there the night before. I went up to the attic and looked around. The circle was still there, but the people were gone. I found a few candles and some other ritualistic objects, but nothing else. I left the house and went back to the police station. I told my captain what I had seen, but he didn't believe me. He said I was just imagining things. I knew I wasn't imagining things, but I didn't know what to do. I couldn't just let what I had seen go uninvestigated. I decided to do some research on my own. I went to the library and checked out a few books on the paranormal. I also talked to some people who claimed to have had paranormal experiences. The more I learned, the more I realized that what I had seen was real. There are things in this world that we don't understand, and I had seen one of them. I decided to keep my experiences to myself. I didn't want to be labeled as crazy, but I also knew that I couldn't forget what I had seen. I'm still a police officer, and I still see a lot of things in my job. But nothing will ever compare to what I saw that night. I was a security officer for a large park in the city. My job was to patrol the park at night and make sure that everything was safe. One night I was patrolling the park when I saw something strange. It was a large, hairy creature that was standing in the middle of the path. I had never seen anything like it before. It was about the size of a bear, but it had long arms and legs, and its head was much larger than a bear's head. The creature was staring at me, and its eyes were glowing red. I was terrified, but I knew that I had to do something. I drew my gun and pointed it at the creature. "Go away!" I shouted. The creature didn't move. It just kept staring at me with its glowing red eyes. I fired my gun, but the bullet bounced off of the creature's skin. The creature didn't even flinch. I was starting to panic. I didn't know what to do. I was outnumbered and outgunned. The creature started to move towards me. I turned and ran, but it was faster than me. It caught up to me and grabbed me by the arm. I screamed in pain as it lifted me up into the air. I thought I was going to die. I closed my eyes and waited for the end. But then something strange happened. The creature let go of me and ran away. I didn't know why it had let me go, but I was grateful. I got up and ran away as fast as I could. I didn't stop running until I was out of the park. I went home and locked the door behind me. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about the creature. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that it was dangerous. The next day I went back to the park. I wanted to find out what had happened. I searched the park, but I couldn't find any sign of the creature. I asked some of the other security guards if they had seen anything, but they said they hadn't. I didn't know what to think. I had seen the creature with my own eyes, but no one else seemed to believe me. I started to wonder if I had imagined the whole thing, but I knew that I hadn't. I had seen the creature, and I knew that it was real. I never saw the creature again, but I never forgot it. I still think about it sometimes, and I wonder what it was. I'm not sure what it was, but I know that it was something strange, something that I don't understand. I still think about the creature sometimes, and I wonder what it was. I'm not sure what it was, but I know that it was something strange, something that I don't understand. I've done some research, and I've found a few other people who have seen similar creatures. There are a lot of stories about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and other ape-like creatures, but I've never seen anything like the creature I saw in the park. It was much larger than Bigfoot, and it had a different shape. It also had glowing red eyes, which I've never heard of any other creature having. I don't know what the creature was, but I'm starting to think that it might not be from this world. I know that sounds crazy, but I can't think of any other explanation. I've been thinking about going back to the park to see if I can find the creature again, but I'm also afraid of what I might find. I don't know if I'm ready to face the creature again, but I also don't want to let it go unanswered. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I know that I have to do something. I can't just ignore what I saw. I'm going to have to face the creature again, and I'm going to have to find out what it is. It was a dark and stormy night. The rain was coming down in sheets, and the wind was howling like a banshee. I was driving my patrol car through the city when I got a call about a missing boy. The boy was 10 years old, and he had been missing for 24 hours. He had last been seen playing in the park. I drove to the park and started searching. I searched for hours, but I couldn't find him. I was about to give up when I heard a noise. I turned around and saw a figure standing in the shadows. The figure was small and frail, and it was wearing a white dress. I approached the figure and asked if it was the missing boy. The figure turned to look at me, and I gasped in horror. The figure's face was pale and gaunt, and its eyes were black and lifeless. It was the most terrifying thing I had ever seen. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I was frozen with fear. The figure reached out and touched my face. Its touch was cold and clammy. I felt my soul being sucked out of my body. I tried to fight back, but I was no match for the creature. It was too strong. The creature laughed a horrible, raspy laugh. "You are mine now," it said, and then it was gone. I woke up in the hospital. I was told that I had been found unconscious in the park. I had no memory of what had happened. The police never found the missing boy. I don't know what happened to him, but I know that it was the creature that took him. I am still a police officer, but I am not the same person I was before. I am haunted by what I saw that night. I know that the creature is still out there, and I am afraid that it will come for me again. I am not sure what to do. I can't go on living in fear, but I also don't want to put myself in danger. I am at a crossroads. I don't know which way to turn, but I know that I have to do something. I can't just let the creature win. I am going to find a way to defeat it. I am going to save myself, and I am going to save the other children. I started by researching the creature. I went to the library and checked out a few books on the paranormal. I also talked to some people who claimed to have had paranormal experiences. The more I learned, the more I realized that what I had seen was real. There are things in this world that we don't understand, and I had seen one of them. I decided to keep my experiences to myself. I didn't want to be labeled as crazy, but I also knew that I couldn't forget what I had seen. I'm still a police officer, and I still see a lot of things in my job, but nothing will ever compare to what I saw that night. I've been searching for the creature ever since. I know that it's out there, and I'm determined to find it. I know that it's dangerous, but I'm not afraid. I'm not going to let it win. I'm going to find it, and I'm going to defeat it. I'm going to save myself, and I'm going to save the other children. I'm not going to let the creature win. One day, I was patrolling the park when I saw the creature again. It was standing in the same spot where I had seen it before. I knew that this was my chance. I had to confront the creature and defeat it. I drew my gun and pointed it at the creature. "Stay where you are," I shouted. The creature turned to look at me, and its eyes glowed red. It started to move towards me. I fired my gun, but the bullet bounced off of the creature's skin. The creature didn't even flinch. I was starting to panic. I didn't know what to do. I was outnumbered and outgunned. The creature started to move towards me again. I knew that I had to do something or I would be killed. I closed my eyes and concentrated. I thought about all of the children that the creature had taken. I thought about all of the pain and suffering that it had caused. I opened my eyes and looked at the creature. I knew what I had to do. I charged at the creature. I tackled it to the ground and started punching it. The creature fought back, but I was stronger. I kept punching it until it was finally defeated. I stood up and looked at the creature. It was lying on the ground, its body limp. I had done it. I had defeated the creature. I had saved myself, and I had saved the other children. I had not let the creature win.